Hello, everyone. I'm Jack Fisher, and welcome to my world. And whenever someone says the end is near, it's usually a bad thing, a crazy thing, or a nasty combination of the two. But when it comes to Ultimate Invasion, the first step towards a new Ultimate Universe, well, the end truly is here. Ultimate Invasion number 4 has arrived, and a new foundation for the Ultimate Universe is about to take shape. Having followed this miniseries since it was announced, I've never hid my excitement for it. After all, I'm the one who advocated for a rebooted Ultimate Universe back in 2022. I also still believe that this is what the comic book world needs right now. And I can honestly think of no better architect for this new universe than Jonathan Hickman, who has already proven his world-building capabilities with multiple Marvel franchises. But before that process begins, Ultimate Invasion needs to end. Everything that Ultimate Reed Richards, aka the Maker, set into motion is about to culminate. He stole a whole host of technology from the mainline 616 universe to create the Immortus engine. And with it, he ventured to a new Marvel universe, one labeled Earth 6160. And from here, he altered, guided, and manipulated this world into a whole new timeline. And the changes he made were not minor. He essentially stopped the Avengers from ever assembling. He stopped Peter Parker from becoming Spider-Man. He stopped the Fantastic Four from going on that fateful mission to space. And without Earth's mightiest heroes, the Maker essentially built this entire world and its timeline to his liking. And for the past 2 issues, we've seen how this new world works and operates. It is very much defined by the Maker's manipulations, literally and figuratively. And through the perspective of Howard Stark, we come to learn the full extent of just how this world works. There are still nations, there are still conflicts, there are also plenty of familiar iterations of many familiar heroes. But everything that unfolds from the public's perspective, that's all for show, an elaborate act of kabuki theater. Those put into power by the Maker were all in on this secret, but Howard Stark was not. And he had to learn the hard way that there was a major flaw in the Maker's vision, one that cost him his best friend and potentially so much more. Because it turns out when you manipulate an entire universe's timeline, that timeline tends to fight back. And it's been fighting the Maker ever since he arrived in this universe. Now, we also know that the fight has a guiding figure behind it, and he appears to be a version of Kang the Conqueror. We don't know much about him at the beginning, we just know that he has it out for the Maker. He's the reason for the attack on the city earlier in the series, one that happened to involve entire armies of familiar heroes, all resembling early versions of the Ultimates. These attacks have already wounded the Maker in a very obvious way, and he's now so wounded that he's unable to create a new Immortus engine. So he enlists Howard Stark to help him. But Howard is not alone either. He's also working alongside someone who calls himself Reed Richards, but he's also wearing Doctor Doom's iconic mask. This makes for a tense but intriguing moment, and in the first few pages of Ultimate Invasion number 4, they discuss the power of the Immortus engine, the larger machinations of the Maker, and how time seems to be flowing erratically around them. But even with those obscurities, Howard and Reed are still working against the clock. The Maker expects them to finish the Immortus engine, and they fully expect another attack to come from Kang in the distant future. One way or another, something has to give. This timeline cannot and will not accept the Maker's manipulations. But Howard Stark is not content to just play along. So, even as he and Reed fix the Immortus engine, Howard hatches a plot. And the 6160 version of Reed agrees to play a part in it. So just as he's about to give the Maker the Immortus engine, Howard reveals that he sabotaged the city's mainframe. He basically undid all the defenses the Maker had been using to keep those attacks from the future at bay. And once they're down, the Kang we saw from the future takes full advantage of it. What follows is an attack much bolder than the one we saw earlier. This time, Kang is the one leading the charge, and everyone in Latveria, everyone around the city, they all join in. It has the look, the feel, and the scale of the former Ultimate Universe's best battles. At times, you can really feel Bryan Hitch reaching into the past, tapping into Ultimate Marvel's heyday and bringing it into this pivotal moment. But even as this battle is unfolding, Howard Stark does not seem the least bit inclined to take a side. He doesn't seem to care who wins so long as the Maker loses. And this leads to a glorious but overdue breakdown. The Maker calls out to Kang, and Kang answers. They start to fight, but there's no grandstanding, small talk, or speeches. At this point, they're really just fighting for the sake of fighting. They know on some levels that time is running out. And Howard knows it's running out for him too. And as things play out, we learn a few key details. We find out just how the Maker ended up getting part of his face blown off. That actually came courtesy of Kang, who dropped some not-so-subtle clues as to who he is and where he came from. He exists in this world because the Maker made this world. It feels like both an inevitable reaction and an unavoidable fate. The Maker came to this universe to mold it into a new vision, but doing that was always going to create someone like him, a version of Kang who would oppose the Maker at every turn. And if Howard's words are anything to go by, this version of Kang is actually a future version of himself. That's how he knew how to fix the Immortus engine. That's why he kept attacking the Maker from the future. He is literally the only one who can end the Maker's manipulations, and he's the only one who could set his world right. But doing so at this point requires him to pay a price. And this all leads to a beautiful but badass moment where Howard overloads the Immortus engine and unleashes a destructive wave that effectively ends the battle for all sides involved. It really does feel like an endgame of sorts, the final act to free this new Marvel universe from this perverse influence. And I think it's poetic in a strange way, because the Maker is one of the few remaining traces of the former Ultimate Universe. So, for an entirely new Ultimate Universe to emerge, it makes sense that its last vestige would have to fall, and at the hands of the only one who could help him no less. This result has other larger implications, many of which aren't fully resolved. Once the Immortus engine overloads, the city and everyone inside it is basically trapped in this temporal cage. And according to all the leaders the Maker has been working with, it won't open again for another 2 years at least. Now that may not seem like much from the outside, but as Reed Richards himself said earlier, time doesn't flow the same inside the city. A month inside that place is like 1,000 years. So by the time the city opens again, the Maker, Howard, and everyone inside it will be long dead, having endured at least 2,400 years of confinement. A lot can happen in that span, and somehow they have to hold it all together without the Maker. A daunting task that is sure to cause plenty of chaos. And as for young Tony Stark, who had a chance to look up to and admire his father in this universe, he suddenly finds himself all alone. But Howard planned all this knowing that he may never see his son again. So he tasks Reed Richards, now wearing the garb of Dr. Doom, to deliver a message in the form of a letter. But it is not just a heartfelt goodbye. It's actually a new mission. One meant to confront everything the Maker did and attempt to save this universe from his machinations once and for all. While the Maker did affect many vital moments within this universe, there are a few he couldn't, such as locating the frozen body of Captain America. And now, it's on young Tony Stark to finish the job and set things right. It leads to this brief epilogue that shows Tony taking those first few steps. And with this universe's Reed Richards by his side, he begins the process of changing things for the better. Not simply to free it from the Maker's influence, but to help it blossom into its own thing. But what does that process actually mean? What does it really entail? This is where Ultimate Invasion number 4 ends things abruptly and somewhat ambiguously. The story of the Maker and his agenda is officially over. And it was a damn good story too, one that was definitely worth telling. A new Ultimate Universe simply could not emerge without laying to rest some of those lingering plot points. But even with the Maker defeated, where does this leave Earth 6160? Is this going to be the new Ultimate Universe that is set to launch in 2024? And if so, What happens to the city? What happens to all the changes the Maker established? He already prevented Spider-Man and the Fantastic Four from ever becoming heroes. Is this universe going to build around that? Or will there be more changes in the present, past, and future? There are quite a bit of teases, and there is another one-shot issue coming out in November entitled Ultimate Universe Number 1. While we don't know much about it, we know it is also going to be written by Jonathan Hickman, and we also know it's spinning directly out of the events of Ultimate Invasion. It's being teased as a group of heroes coming together to save the future, and it's poised to be a foundational issue for this new line of Ultimate Marvel. Does that mean there will be even more drastic changes to the timeline? Will it lead to some kind of hard reboot that will allow Ultimate to start from scratch? Or will it continue to simply world build Earth 6160? We don't know yet, and we probably won't know until that issue comes out. Now, I certainly have my theories. I even have my preferences. But I am still very much intrigued, and I will definitely be ready to highlight that issue when it finally comes out. Now, as for Ultimate Invasion as a whole, I feel like this is a story that needed to happen for the past, present, and future of Ultimate Marvel. It wasn't so much a swan song as it was a cleansing, the last plot of the last remnant of the former Ultimate Universe. And now that the Maker's story is over, the story of the former Ultimate Universe is truly at an end. And an all-new, all-different Ultimate Universe is ready to take its place. There's still a lot we don't know about how it'll all unfold from here. This being a new, unexplored Marvel Universe, the possibilities are vast, and only time will tell what kind of world will emerge from all this. And in that sense, Ultimate Invasion marks the end of the beginning. And now that this beginning is upon us, that will likely be the ultimate legacy of this story. Thanks for watching, everyone, and thanks for joining me in my world. Please remember to like, comment, and subscribe, and until next time, take care and stay safe.